Hello, everyone. Greetings for the day. This is Divya, and welcome back to our today's session. I'm so happy and thrilled to have you join today's session where we will explore verbs and their types in Montessori classroom. We know words bring actions and movement to language, making learning dynamic and engaging for the young minds. In today's session, we will not only discuss the different types of verbs, but also we would dive into how they can be introduced and demonstrated using the Montessori material. So get ready for this interactive discussion on practical strategies, hands-on activities, and what are the essential materials that you would use in your Montessori lesson that is going to make the verb learning exciting for our preschoolers. So let's start with today's session. Before we get started, let's understand the types of words that we would have it. In Montessori grammar, the words can be further categorized into three types based on how they function in a sentence. The first one is the transitive verb, the second being the intransitive verb, and the third, that is the auxiliary or the helping verb. For every verb that we are going to be using, you would also find a symbol that is associated in the Montessori grammar symbol box. So far in the previous lesson, we only used a red large circle in the grammar symbol box to represent the verb. Going further, when the child is given a sentence, the child will have to identify what is the type of verb depending on how the verb is functioning in any sentence. That is when we further classify that as, is the verb a transitive verb? Is the verb an intransitive? Or is the verb an auxiliary verb? So let's take some more examples in understanding each of the type. To begin with, what's a transitive verb? Transitive verb is a verb that has a direct object to complete its meaning. Okay. Say, for example, we might ask questions like what and when, whom, right? So if I'm able to answer those, we would be able to work on it. To understand, let's take an example. For example, if I only take a verb like eats and I make a sentence, she eats. Does it make sense? Because we definitely need a verb that is directly linked to an object to complete its meaning. So when I write she eats, only when we put she eats, does that make sense? It doesn't make much of a sense. And when we start asking question, what does she eat? When we add an apple, it makes sense. So transitive verb is a verb that is linked directly with an object to complete its meaning. So use some more words. The boy kicks. What does the boy kick? The ball, right? So here, kicks is a transitive verb. So whenever you have sentences like this, you have to understand, is the verb linking to the object? Yes. Then we mark this as a transitive verb. Okay. So eats is a transitive verb. So the child will have to mark a red circle under the verb. He reads a book. Read is an action. What is he reading? He's reading a book. Book is a noun. So there is a direct object that gets linked with it. So how? So this becomes my transitive verb. Okay. Now we would see further examples. Now we understood that this is quite simple. I have an action. The action is linked with my object. Now let's take some more examples. When we move further, we would be able to get the differences of intransitive ones also, right? So let's take that. Let me move further. Okay. So how do we do this in our Montessori classes? Like say, for example, in the class, what am I supposed to first give it to the child? I have to first take my Montessori grammar symbol box. Grammar symbol is essential. So the child will start picking the red circle, right? So red circle is for my verb. And the black triangle is for? Black triangle is for what? It is for the, remember, it is for the noun, correct? Now, when I had a sentence like that, She eats an apple. Under eats, you put the verb. Now, say suppose, let's take another example. The girl paints. What does she paint? Is she painting a picture? Is she painting a house? So you can fill in whatever you require. So the girl becomes my noun. So in my grammar symbol box, what do? Girl is a noun. So I take this. Paint is a transitive verb. So I take a red circle this way. And then I'm going to fill in an object. Correct? A picture. Again, picture is a noun. So I'm going to be adding that. So teacher acts out the verb. She asks questions. And then this is how we would teach that in our Montessori classes. Now, when we move further and take some more examples of it, we can also help the child to understand a little better. Now here, when it comes down to the intransitive verb, that's the second version. So intransitive verbs will not need any direct object. They don't need. So they complete their meaning just by their own. Okay. So what kind of exercises that we can actually take it up for this? For example, in case if I have the baby sleeps. Is there any object that is linked to the sentence? No. Is the sentence complete? Yes. So sleeps is transitive or intransitive? It's an intransitive verb. So I have to draw a circle, and then inside I would have the orange or the golden part of it. Okay. This is the symbol that represents an intransitive verb. So it is very simple. So whenever the child gets any sentence, okay, the duty of the child or the duty of the teacher is to introduce verbs. You will only ask a child, is it transitive, is it intransitive, or is it an auxiliary verb? Since there is no direct object that has been linked with it, the meaning is complete and this becomes an intransitive. She runs fast. Runs is an action word, correct? Now, is it transitive or intransitive? It is intransitive. So we make this particular symbol. They jump with joy. So there is no object that has been linked with it. Correct? So there is no object. So the word becomes, the action word is my intransitive verb. Okay? So that's how we would be able to work with examples. Let's go to the next one. How do you do that in a Montessori class? Is the next task that we're going to be working in. As simple. Again, you bring your grammar symbol box. You show them that verb stands alone with a red circle without needing a black triangle noun. Okay. So you don't need the noun over here. And then you work with children, give them examples, ask them to perform on the actions, whatever is there on the sentences. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Now what I can do here is like, since we have completed both of them, it's also essential you give them a lot of sentences to show them the differences, right? Now when I have a statement like this, she writes. Is there an object that has been linked with it? No object. So what happens? The object becomes, sorry, the verb is transitive or intransitive? The verb is transitive, correct? So I have to write as a transitive verb. Okay. Writes is my transitive because there is no object linked with it. Now take a look at the second sentence here. She writes a letter. I have an object linked with it. What's the object here? Letter. So this is a transitive or an intransitive one. So that becomes my transitive, right? So this is only a red circle is what you're going to be marking for this. These are the only differences, guys, that you're going to be showing it. This is how you pick the right grammar symbol to the class, to the sentences, and then you're going to be placing it accordingly. Okay. Now let's see the other one, and we should be able to work. Now the third type is the auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb, we can also call it as a helping verb, right? It is used with the main verb to form different tenses, voices, or even moods of it. What are the common auxiliary verbs that we generally use in our sentences? It could be be, is, am, are, was, were, have, has, had, do, does, did, right? And some more like, can, will, shall, may, must. These are all the auxiliary verbs that we can use it in our sentences. Let's see some examples for it. Okay, let's try with the first exercise. First sentence, she is reading a book. Okay, now what is the main verb here? The main verb is reading. She reading a book. When I use my auxiliary verb, that is, she is reading, right? So is becomes my helping verb. So what does this become? My reading. It's an auxiliary verb. So how do I write it? I have to take a red circle, which has a white inside. So this is how I differentiate. This is the symbol that you have to use. So pick, if it's an auxiliary verb, sorry. Okay, so sorry. You have to pick here. Okay, so is this an auxiliary verb? So you have to put here, reading is the main verb. Okay, so you're going to pick the exact verb forms and you're going to put, they have finished their work. What is the auxiliary verb here? Have. So what should I be defining? So this is my symbol, have. Finished becomes my transitive verb. He will go to school tomorrow. Go is the main verb, correct? So main verb. Okay, so this is the main verb. Will go. So will becomes my helping verb or the auxiliary. For that, we have to mark this sentence, mark this symbol. So that helps me to define how well that I would be using it in our classes. Clear? Okay, let's move to the next part of it. You can download some more exercises, some more sentences, which has a combination of the main verbs and the helping verbs. And you can decode it, but the only intention is you choose the right grammar symbol. So this is how you do in your Montessori classes. So earlier we were using a simple grammar symbol box, which had only a transitive verb, right? As and when the sentence is becoming a little bit more complex, you want to teach the children also on the complexities, whether it's an intransitive verb or an auxiliary verb. Okay, if the children want to do a little bit more exercises, we can also build sentences using movable alphabets so that they have even more good hands-on exercises. And as the verb tense forms are changing, the children can also explore, right? From present tense to past tense, right? And they can actually take all that changing, like how the auxiliary verbs modify the verb tenses is something that the children can learn it a little further. Okay, so these are the symbols that we would be learning from now on. To just help you on that, we just learned on, okay, I just want to pick this pen. All right, okay, so we just learned now on these three, right? So we learned transitive verb, we learned an intransitive verb, and we learned an auxiliary verb. So these are the three ones that we actually used it, and we have learned it in today's session. Okay, so I hope you got the differences, and this is what you need to be introducing in your classes as well. All right. Okay, so that is something that we have to practice. So for children, you can work with more sentences for them, and you can give them a lot more sentences. Let them also try to arrange sentences. You can give them more of it. You can perform exercises. See, every time you don't have to give the grammar symbol box. You can have list of sentence and you can ask them, can you underline the verb? Can you underline that is auxiliary verb? Or can you underline, or can you put a circle on the transitive verb or an intransitive verb? Depending on what you want to introduce is what you can actually work on it. Always remember, reinforcement is very essential. So try to reinforce the concepts that you've actually been teaching through games and role plays. children would definitely love to work on it. So this is one of the sorting games that we can actually work with children. Like, you can always have a combination of verbs with adverbs. Children walk carefully, let's run quickly, or let's run carefully. You can always reinforce it with games so that they would also learn. The entire purpose of introducing the concept of verbs is only to make sure children understand the concepts better. It helps them in building good sentences in a very engaging way, right? So, this is the entire agenda that we would be focusing on. And the child should be able to work very effortlessly because they are understanding, they are seeing the construction of sentence, they are choosing the right symbols, right? When they're using such material in our Montessori classes, don't you think children are learning through visual memory? It's such an interactive way that they are actually learning the skills, and that's the purpose of the entire lesson of using um, such kinds of materials for our children, right? So yeah, so there are a few more sentences. You can pause the video, you can take a screenshot, and you can practice uh, uh, and mark the verbs accordingly. Okay. So that was for today's exercise. And if you need some more information about our courses, and if you want to join to our course and get certified and become a trained Montessori teacher, you can always get in touch with us on the mentioned numbers. Okay. So thank you very much. I hope you all enjoyed the lesson thoroughly. I'll see you soon in the next lesson. Great day.